Rawr! Hello and welcome to Midnight Readings. Today we'll be reading Fluttershy's Last Wish, written by StarlightGem2803. As always, these are amazing Patreons. Link is in the description if you wish to join, and there's some very nice rewards. Also, helps our littlest ones get some food. Also, don't forget, we have a limited edition winning merch on our merch shelf. Take a look-see, and don't forget to take a look at the artist as well. Now, shall we get to it? Princess of Friendship sat down on a soft brown cushioned chair. A train of thoughts had passed her by. She sipped from the cup of tea which was brewed by the caretaker. Chamomile tea. It was one of her favourites. A warm feeling was brought out when the hot steam from the tea clashed with her nuzzle. She then turned to look at the masterpiece of Fluttershy's backyard. She stared in awe at the butterflies and bees pollinating the pretty flowers around the majestic tree. Birds like mockingjays were seen on the branches. Some robins were preening their delicate feathers or flying away. An owl yawned from within the hole in the tree's trunk. There was also a few bunnies frolicking nearby. It was such a sight that made Twilight Sparkle's eyes water. It truly was a beauty. The story behind it was, well, much more. 10 years ago, Twilight Sparkle entered Fluttershy's household. Every animal inside wore scared or worried faces. Some were even crying. Twilight held a white carnation in her hoof. She walked up to Fluttershy's bedroom and saw her lying on bed, motionless and weak. A small, weary squeak came from her. "Twilight? I'm so glad you visited." Tears began to well up in Twilight's purple eyes. She crept up to the side of the bed and sat down on the floor. She levitated the carnation to her hoof and said, "How are you feeling, Fluttershy?" "I'm fine," she replied. "The caretaker helps me feed the animals when I can't. She's out buying. She'll be back later." "Okay." The wrinkly yellow Pegasus looked at the carnation she gave. It was fresh and beautiful. She smiled and said her thanks to Twilight. She then turned to look at her with nervous eyes and said, "When will I die, Twilight? I know I don't have much time." Twilight turned pale at her question. She knew this was coming, but she had hoped that it could wait longer. She didn't want to be alone. She took a deep breath and held her hoof. She said, "Tonight, possibly." Fluttershy looked back at the carnation, trying to lift her spirits up. She said, "I'll soon see the girls. Don't be sad, Twilight. We'll be there for you." Twilight's tears finally streamed down her face. "Fluttershy!" Fluttershy, despite her feeble bones, lifted her hoof up to Twilight's face and wiped her tears. A moan of pain escaped from her. Twilight finally stopped, and Fluttershy brought her hoof back to its original position. "Fluttershy, is there anything you want before you go?" Maybe. There's one, but it's okay with you, Anything, Fluttershy. Anything." Fluttershy took a deep breath and moved the carnation to her chest. She exhaled and gave her request. "Twilight, I would like to be a tree." "What?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I mean, burn my corpse and bury my ashes in the backyard. With my ashes grow flowers, plants, or anything you like. As long as my animal friends can use it as a shelter or food, if that's okay with you." Twilight was speechless as she stared at the seemingly lifeless turquoise eyes of Fluttershy, so old and weak, it felt like daggers were piercing her heart. Fluttershy continued, "I also want the animals to know that I'm never far away. I hate seeing them cry over me. I want to show them that I'll always be there for them, through the garden. I want to keep caring for my animals and... I will, Fluttershy. Thank you, Twilight. Sunpony peeked out from the door. Fluttershy immediately noticed her and said, Twilight, could you leave me and Morning Mist to talk for a while, please? If you don't mind. Twilight nodded and replied, Yes, of course. She slowly walked to the door as tears began to form in her eyes again. Morning Mist, the caretaker, entered the room after she left. Twilight then closed the door and made her way to the living room, tears starting to fall in her hooves as she looked out the window, where she would grant the Pegasus' final wish. Fluttershy. Twilight Sparkle stood up from her chair. She revealed a white carnation from the spark of her magic. She walked up to the tree and leaned forward, placing the flower on its root. A single tear fell from her eye and dropped onto the flower. She whispered, causing all the animals to turn and look at her. Fluttershy, your garden is finished now. I planted all your favorite flowers and grew the tree strong and tall, just like you said. With another spark of her magic, a sign appeared before her. There was a small branch a few inches above her. She levitated the sign and hung it onto the branch. A smile escaped from her lips as the words read, Fluttershy's tree. Here lies Fluttershy's, the wielder of the element of kindness. Heart, the tree was grown with her devotion for her animal friends. Marks her care and love. We will never forget you, Fluttershy. Tears formed again in Twilight's eyes, and no longer was tears of sorrow, but tears of joy, for her hard work had finally bloomed over the years. She had guessed Fluttershy was overjoyed with it. The animals returned to what they were doing before, as Twilight walked away from the garden. She half smiled while thinking about her friends. Thanks for being my friend. Let the birds find a home in my branches, and the pretty little butterflies and bees drink from my flowers. My garden and tree is free for one and all. Thank you for the sacrifices you made to make my tree and the plants around it bloom, for the days you watered them and cared for them. I can feel the sincere nourishment you gave. Thanks for being my friend, Twilight. You know, I can see this happening. Giving Twilight a little thing to do to keep her close to Fluttershy and to show that despite everything, they will be still with her, and the effects that her friends had will still be there, even as Twilight goes on without them, physically. They'll be there in spirit. That was Fluttershy's Last Wish, written by StarlightGem2803. I hope you all enjoyed, and keep watching that moon, everyone. Bye!